Thing we kind of need to do when we start working is we need to properly configure our project folder. So what I generally do is, if you've been watching this channel for a while now, you know that I have my own folder structure, which I use, and this is you can watch on my website. You can find VFX folder structure. Also, if you just search on YouTube for VFX folder structure and then Tim van Helsdingen, this will come up. That explains this folder structure in more detail, so I'm not going to do that again in this video. You can download the folder structure on my website. So that's what I'm going to work in. So I have that already configured here. So this is the folder structure here. And then I have it configured with this HTA. So because of course we're going to be writing out some assets when we're building out the project. So it's gonna be good to stay consistent. And also we have a couple of different shots, right? So we kind of want to have the renders like labeled accordingly and stuff like that. So what we're going to be doing now is we're first going to be making the leaf. And you might think, why are we going to do the leaf first? Well, we're going to do the leaf first because just the general leaf animation, so the way it just rolls out, is going to use a couple of techniques that we're going to be using in the plant later as well. So we're going to, for example, use chops to create like some wiggle delay in the leaf. And there's going to be a whole bunch of other techniques involved there as well. So I figured just start simple in the leaf, and then once we have a nicely animated leaf, then we can apply the same techniques to the main plant, because a lot of stuff is gonna also be used in the main plant. So yeah, let's start with the leaf. And when we're gonna do the leaf, we're gonna be using some Megascans assets. And of course, in the project file that you can download on my website, so link for that is in the description. But the Megascans files are not going to be in there, of course, but I'll put the codes to the assets on Megascans, because of course these are paid assets, so I cannot just include them in the download. But if you just search for these codes, so this leaf, for example, that I'm using is QG or whatever, just look in the screen. But if you search for that, you can find this leaf. So yeah, then we have this leaf, and then you can download it. We're going to be using offline specular workflow, so just put it to offline specular because we're going to be using Redshift, so this is a good thing for that. Export settings, just the general export settings. If you have never worked with Megascans before, I guess there's tutorials for that online, so not going to go into that too much, but we're going to be using some assets. Right, so what we're going to be doing is use the Megascans plugin. By the way, this thing sometimes just remains in the background. If I'm opening this later again and it just remains in the background, then you can, or if you have the issue yourself, then you know what it is. So it will sometimes just get hidden behind the user interface and it doesn't come back up. So I'm gonna be rendering in Redshift, so I'm gonna use the Redshift and Redshift material preset. There's also triplanar, but we won't use that. We'll use the Redshift material. We're gonna be using UVs. And use the atlas splitter. So this will split the atlas into different geometry parts, so into the six different leaves. So with that thing open, I'm just going to press export. And it's going to do its thing, and then we have our little leaf here. All right, so if we go in there, you can see there's a geometry network. So you can see all of our leaves here. By the way, with Control B, you can maximize your viewport. So if you didn't know that, now you know. So you can just, like if I highlight a piece, you can see this is one piece. So let's just grab the first one. So just copy this node. That means I'm copying the file path to the thing, because like Houdini works has like a folder structure. If all of you that's seen Houdini 101, you know that I have an episode there explaining that. If you haven't seen Houdini 101, it's on my channel, on my website, so you can check it out there. But we're copy and pasting the path to this thing, and then when we go out here, we can just hide this. So go out, and just hide this entire thing, make an empty geometry node, do a object merge, and let's just merge it in. All right, so we have our leaf here, and maybe we want to preview the material on it. So if we want to do that, if you open up the SideFX Labs tools, so if you don't have those installed yet, you can go to the plus sign, shelves, go to labs, where is it? So Scientific lab. Right, and I'm gonna get this error again. So you need to update toolset, then it's gonna install. So then you need to reboot Houdini, and then this is gonna be here. And then we're gonna use the quick material. So just gonna type material, and then labs quick material. So this will allow you to assign a material, and it will just give you an OpenGL view of the material. So now let's assign something. So I'm just gonna go in here as a material, plant minerals, and I'm just gonna grab the albedo, copy the path, and just paste in the base texture. Right, so now we can see we have the leaf with the material. So it's just a little bit easier to look at. So something like this. All right, so now we need to do is we need to give it like an extra branch maybe over there. And of course we need to animate it, and it needs a little bit more geometry, because if we're gonna look at the wireframe, see it doesn't really have a lot of geometry. So there's a couple of things that we need to do, and then we're gonna animate it. All right, so first for this thing, let's just remesh it so we just get some more detail, and it will keep the UV. So you can also be certain that the UV is just going to be okay if we just remesh it, because it's still going to look okay. So yeah, something like this, and we have some little bit more detail, maybe a little bit less. We don't want it to be too heavy because we're going to have quite a lot of leaves, of course. So with that thing out of the way, let's just move it out of the way a little bit, because we need to make a stem. And I want the stem to start at the origin, then move out a little bit, and then the leaf is gonna probably start over there. Because of course, when we're gonna instance this leaf on our plant, then it needs to, well, we need to rotate from the origin. So I'm gonna keep the base of the stem here in the origin. Let's just put a transform. Let's just move it over a little bit. Something like that. All right. Right, so now let's make a stem. So make a line. So we have this line. Let's just highlight our leaf. Let's just put it in the Z direction. Make it a little bit shorter, something like that. Give it a little bit more points. And let's do a sweep. Let's put it to round tube. Make it a lot thinner. Let's do scale along curve. Something like this, right? Let's put it to beige. Right. So now it's just so we get some type of branch going. I guess something like that looks cool. And then let's, on UV and attributes, compute UVs, override any existing UVs, and normalize them. So this will give it UV. So if I do press space 5, you can see this will automatically generate UV. So this is one of the new sweep tools. So if you're on an older version of Houdini, you won't have the new one. So that one doesn't automatically do UVs, but this one does. So that's nice. So use the UV quick shade. You can see I have UVs on it. And we can just merge it in. Maybe we want the actual ending, by the way, to be completely thin. Right, so let's merge it in. Let's make, let's put a normal sop after, because it's a little bit dark there, so I'm thinking something like that. Let's just give it a color so it just looks a little bit better in the viewport. Green or something like that. All right. I'm probably gonna make it a little bit thinner. All right, something like this. So you can see this already looks pretty good. So it continues on the natural track of the leaf. So far so good. Let's make some groups so we can actually assign materials, like our proper render materials later. So this is gonna be our leaf. And then the right side, this is going to be our stem. All right, so now we have our leaf. All right, so maybe shape our leaf a little bit, because I mean, it's somewhat interesting, but I guess we can make it a little bit more interesting. So probably what we want to do is, let's say over here on the left side, let's put a group and do edges. Let's group some edges. So include by edges, disable base group, minimum angle. Oh no, I'm just gonna do in shared edges, all right? And then I guess I can do soft transform. I'm gonna promote my edge group. Edge group. Edge group. Right, promote. Group promote. So these are gonna be edges. I'm gonna promote them to points. And again, this is just for the shaping. You can also ignore that if you already like the shape like this, but I figured we might as well make it a little bit more interesting shape. So let's just do, and I'm doing a soft transform, and then I'm gonna be able to, see, I'm gonna be able to somewhat change the, give it a little bit of a curvature. See, like that. I'm just gonna move it up regularly after that again, so it at least goes to the bottom. All right, so that's a little bit more interesting, and I wanted to have maybe a little bit of a curved tip or something. All right, so let's do a bend. We're also going to be using these bends to animate it later, by the way. So put a bend stop down here. And I think the capture origin is already okay. So let's see. Yeah, if I'm doing it like this, the length is looking, that should be, you can see 0, 1, so it should be about 0.6. Let's just do 0.7. So we can do, let's first shape it already a little bit like how we want it to look. Because we're going to be using these same bends to sort of, so let's do another one on the front. I'm going to be offsetting the start. I'm going to bending it backwards, right? Maybe. You get a nice curved tip there, and then this one bends it down. All right, so now we have this thing, and if I'm actually gonna really increase this, you can see we already get sort of we can do a bending animation. But we so we wanted to roll out like this, but we also wanted to fold out. So maybe let's first do our regular roll in thing. So like this. So let's call this, I guess, roll. And let's do another bend, just sign it, and let's do this one in the X direction, and a very low capture length, and let's just bend, and this is not correct. Oh, yeah, we also had it in the Z, so we only want to do in the X direction, right? So you can see now we can bend it like that. I just need to play around a little bit with how much it captures. Maybe we do want to give it a little bit more geometry, by the way. So I'm going to change the remesh a little bit. Right, so I'm going to just move it in like that. So this, I guess, curl or something. Curl left, and then just copy and paste it. And just call this one curl right. Curl right. All right. So something like that. And then make that one negative. Right. Maybe we want to curl them even more. Let's do 280. Let's do even more. Let's try 500. That's too much. Try 400. All right. Something like that. 400. And another 400. Right, so you can see now it's nicely rolled in, so it's tucked in. And so that's our main thing. And then we have our roll. And maybe let's do our roll after the curl. Let's do something like that. And let's really bend this in. And you can see Houdini, even though it's a pretty technical program, it's kind of nice to sort of art direct our stuff like this, like pretty easily. So let's just roll it in. That's looking pretty cool. And I guess let's just animate it. So what we can do is let's just, let's maybe first animate our roll out things. So those are going to be these. You have to, by the way, probably decide what frame rate you want to work on. I made my original at 24 frames per second, but depends on like what you're gonna do. I guess if you're gonna do Instagram or something, maybe 60 or like 30 or whatever you're gonna make it for. But I just didn't really default to 24 because of filmic look-ish, I guess. I'm not sure why I tend to always go with that, at least for personal things. Right, so let's just set a keyframe for the girl. And I guess let's just roll it out over 24 frames. Let's do the girl right as well. Maybe we just copy and paste this parameter. Paste relative references. You can see now it's rolling out like that. All right, that's looking pretty cool. And we have our regular roll here. So we probably also want to animate that one. So and set a keyframe. Maybe we want to do that one over the course of let's say 48 frames. Put it to 0. And you can see, why is my viewport so slow? Do I still have a render on or something? I don't think so. All right, so we have this thing here. So I'm not completely sure why it's so slow. Let's just, let's do a time. I think it's just constantly remeshing it maybe. Let's do a time shift after frame 1. I think that might help. Okay, yeah, so it was remeshing it every frame, so that's why it was slow. So now I can actually play. Whoop. Let's do real time. That already looks pretty cool. Maybe we want to keep it go a little bit more like that. So it already looks quite cool. What we kind of want is like it sort of keeps like when it rolls out, it sort of goes like this, right? So of course we could do it by hand, but we can also use chops. I never really used chops that much, but they're actually super useful. And like the simple basic notes are quite easy to use. I've never used any advanced chops myself, but for like something like this, it's actually super useful. So let's just dive a little bit into just setting up basic chops for this, so we can like have some nice wiggly sort of animation. Okay, so let's just, I guess, first make a null here. Let's call it, I guess, in chops. Now let's make a chop network. So chops are like a really different context inside of Houdini. It's like completely different from a lot of how the other stuff works. There's not that many people who fully understand chops, I think. Well, I mean, there's of course people who understand it, but it's like not generally but people who do super advanced stuff, even though like I've seen super cool examples of people using chops and making super cool stuff. But like what we're just going to be doing is we're going to be making a chop tab. And we're gonna, let's just go to my second view here on the right. I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna make a geometry. All right. So in this geometry, we're gonna be referencing our geometry. So I'm gonna put this chop and I'm gonna put it in there. Boop. All right, I'm gonna put it to animated because we're working with an animated object. And I am going to first put down another null here. And just call it out. And then we're gonna make it orange. So, or brown or whatever you want to call this. This will means it will export this chop. Okay, and then in this, then in here, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna create a channel. So this channel is gonna reference this chop. So the chop is gonna load the geometry. So like similar like a dot network, for example. It's gonna load it. It's going to process it. So everything in between here is going to be processed, and then it's going to be output in here. So we're going to put this thing in there. We're going to also put it to animated. And if we're now going to press play, it's not going to really do anything. Oh, we need to, don't put it in group, by the way. We're going to put it in chop, of course. But if I'm doing it right now, nothing is really happening because we haven't really added any chops. So I'm going to put a jiggle chop. So immediately, if I'm going to put this, you see we already got this nice sort of jiggly motion. So this is a lot of stuff that you would normally also do in Cinema 4D, for example. So we have some controls. This is all pretty fast, so I guess maybe a little bit stiffer, a little bit more damping. Oh, that looks pretty good. So let's just say that we're happy with the way this looks. Maybe we need to do a couple more things. We need to... Well, it's not completely connecting. We probably don't see that. We should probably fuse them together. All right, let's put a fuse. See if that makes a difference. Yeah, okay, now they seem to stick together a little bit better. So I fused these two meshes together because first they were treated as separate meshes, so one would like jiggle a little bit further than the other one. So with that thing out of the way, let's also, we need to of course have it appear out of nothing. So I'm just going to put a transform here. So I'm going to, over the first couple of frames, let's say 12, I'm going to animate down to scale to 0, like that. And let's just play it. Okay, that's way too fast. Okay, let's just shift click on here. And let's just put it like this. All right, let's play. That looks pretty dope, right? All right, so let's just, I guess, let's just have it play for a couple of times. Looking good, right? All right, so what we're going to be doing with this thing is we're going to be caching it out, and then we're going to reference it later, because we're also going to be needing to offset the timing of these things, of course. And we're actually not going to be using BGOs or regular file caches for this. So that's another trick that I'm going to be teaching you in like in another video, in a later video in this series, is offsetting these caches. We're going to be using actually alembics for that, because alembics have a very useful thing that you can do, which we're going to get into later. But for now, let's just write it out as an alembic. So let's do raw alembic output. Let's connect it to there. Boop. Maybe we want to give it a path just to sort of be, that's like, we're going to stay in Houdini, so it doesn't matter that much here. But if you're exporting alembics, for example, to other packages, generally it needs paths. So for example, in our sidebar here, like if this was an alembic browser, the path would be obj / geo / attribute triangle. That would be the path. So if Maya would, for example, read this, it needs like a path, else it's gonna just give it one shape name. So in this case, we're just gonna write something ourselves. Need to go for primitives, and we're gonna just type s at path equals, and we're gonna call this leaf. And we're gonna put that on the leaf. Okay, so let's do leaf / leaf, and then do another wrangle, and do that on the stem. And do it. What did I do? I didn't want to do that. Just copy this and do this one, leaf / stem. All right, so we have a path. All right. So let's just write this out. So go to your presets and go to publish. That's of course if you have my my filecast preset. So you can see if I middle click on this, you can see this is set to go to our tutorial folder, regrow of assets, ABC, and then main, because I called the shot name main. We're just going to be working in one Houdini file for this. We're not going to split it up into multiple ones for this. So, yes, leaf roll, and let's do frame range, and let's, I guess, do something like 150 frames, and save to disk. All right, that was fast. Yeah, so you have our leaf roll here, and if we put Alembic, we can do copy parameter, paste relative references. So, all right, now we have a Alembic of our little leaf. If we go select primitives here, Alembic paths, and oh, we didn't specify the, okay, so on the Alembic here, build hierarchy from attribute. So this is well, like what it would normally give you, so it's, I guess, a good lesson. And why doesn't it open the thing? Always forget where they hide that. Well, anyway, just in the spreadsheet. So if I go in this thing, you can see this is what it made with the path. So it's not like it just gave it a random name. So if we check on build hierarchy, path from hierarchy, if we now save out, now you can see on this thing we have leaf/stem and leaf/leaf. Right, so just makes a little bit more sense. And you can see if we type add path here, you can see we get a nice little container. And also if you were export this to MyRCinema 3D, this is also what the structure would look like. So if you were wondering how that would work, that's how that's how it works. So let's just, I guess, make a null here. Call it out. Right. So we can just reference this later. And the reason why we're doing Alembics is because if you never used intrinsics before, actually there's something called intrinsics here. And there's this ABC frame. And that's what we're going to be using later. So that's why we did the Alembics. So with our leaf out of the way, we can continue. Let's just call this leaf. And now let's start making our actual plant.